My goodness gracious, Damon. I mean, I feel great. How do you feel? You call me a Chiefs honk. Here's the thing. It's really these days hard to tell the difference. Like if somebody walked into a room and was like, I'm a psychic, or an unabashed Chiefs homer, or the most accurate sportscaster in America, you'd be like, well, how can I tell how can I tell the difference possibly? Because check. Like what you believe in the Chiefs even when the receivers can't catch, they win the Super Bowl. You believe in the Chiefs even after they trade Tyreek Hill, they win the Super Bowl. You believe that Burrowhead Stadium was one of the biggest myths ever created because Joe Burrow, as checks notes, won one game ever in the stadium. They don't call it Aiden O'Connell Stadium. No, and you believe in the Chiefs. And so people call me a homer. I just think I'm a truth teller that happened to be blessed to have lived in Kansas City and just consistently be correct. But great to see you. I mean, I know I'm not, dodging the allegations of homer given what I'm wearing, but you did catch me on a Sunday right after the game. And it's great to see you, my friend. What a football game. And real quick, sorry, I know I should shut up, but I know what everyone's going to say. Questionable officiating at the end.
Correct.
And I agree that illegal hands to the face that wiped off the 40-yard Rashee Rice pass on 4th and 6 was a tough call that I thought went against the Chiefs unfairly. So I agree. The officials had some tough moments at the end, but great to see you.
Great to see you as well. Did you think that the Bengals strategically misfired by trash talking the Chiefs this week?
1,000%. I mean, listen, Cam Taylor-Britt, to his credit, made an amazing play. But that was after he got torched for the first bomb. That was the first 40-plus yard in the air touchdown Mahomes has thrown since Tyreek Hill was on the team. And it was on Cam Taylor-Britt's head. But that's fine. Like, that one didn't bother me as much. What bothered me was Jamar Chase saying everyone knows the AFC goes through us. That's an cartoonishly ridiculous thing to say. Like, there are a lot of things you can be like, listen, we believe we're better. It's not last year. Like, there's a lot of things you can say, like, we think we're the team to beat this year. But to say everyone knows, like, no, people actually, no one knows that. No one thinks that. And I also think Jamar's losing his cool might have cost Cincinnati this game. Like, I don't know what he was mad about. It wasn't a face mask. It wasn't a hip drop tackle. I don't know why he freaked out and got the 15-yard penalty. But yeah, I think talking trash to the Chiefs is a mistake. I think that's been shown.
Although, if you are going to stand toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, it does help for them to know that they have not won the game before they've kicked off. I mean, the Bengals saying, hey, we feel like we're their equals, I think is kind of half the battle in beating the Chiefs. So I do think that confidence can help. The Bills, it's clear they don't think they can beat the Chiefs. The Ravens, it's clear they don't think they can beat the Chiefs. So the fact that the Bengals do, I think, is half the battle, except coming off of the way that they played last week, to me, was the embarrassing thing. How can you say that the AFC goes through Cincinnati if you lost to the Patriots?
Also, I'm not saying you got to kiss the ring. I'm not saying you have to pay homage, but don't say dumb things. I would say that. And I would also say a lot of that talk can be internal, can be inside. I think the Chiefs talk a lot of shit. I'm sorry for cursing.
Oh, it's YouTube. You can say whatever you want.
Okay. All right. I think the Chiefs talk a lot of shit about their opponents privately, but publicly, every team they play is amazing, even though publicly they're also drinking honey deuces at the U.S. Open days before games. Like, a little extra unbothered. But there's like all the narrative pieces or whatever. Here's the other thing. And I said it, this is not Monday morning quarterbacking. This was mid-June looking for topic quarterbacking that I said it. I thought the NFL made a strategic error when they normally don't in having it be Ravens-Bengals week 1 and 2. Because if the Chiefs go 2-0, I said, it saps a lot of the suspense out of the rest of the AFC regular season. It's going to be damn near impossible for either of those teams to catch them. And you are going to feel like there's a somewhat inevitable ending, even though I didn't think the Chiefs played very well today. I didn't think they played well on offense at all. It was one of the worst Mahomes games we've seen in quite some time. And so now I just feel like I assume what will happen is the focus will shift to CJ Stroud being the hope for the conference, but he might lose it here in a half hour to Caleb Williams. So I don't know. The Chiefs going 2-0 through 2 weeks without playing great in either game against those two opponents who are now both 0-2 is a weird spot for everybody.
Yeah, now the Chiefs have a 2.5 game lead over both the Ravens and the Bengals. And I would have considered both those teams to be the two top contenders of the AFC challengers for the Chiefs. So who would we put there? I love the Texans. I think it's a little early to say they're the biggest challenger.
It's Buffalo, right? It's Buffalo.
But did you think that coming into the season, or just because the first 2 weeks the Bills are 2-0?
No, so I thought going into the year that the Bills, after being overrated in my eyes for each of the last 3 years, people had overcorrected and they were underrated. And I think those two things were related. I thought that people overrated the overall talent on their roster. And then when those guys left, it felt to me like, oh, you are now underrating the team because they lost guys who I never thought were that great. Like, I thought Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde hadn't been great players for a couple years. I thought Stephon Diggs wasn't a great player last year. I thought Gabe Davis had one great playoff game, and other than that was just a guy. So going into the year, I picked the Bills to be the only team from that division in the postseason, and I thought the Bills would be, what they always are, which is a double-digit win team that can't beat Kansas City in January. I'm not, snap reacting to that. I thought they'd be good. I thought the Jets would be bad, and I thought Miami would be mediocre, and Miami now is a weird thing to talk about. But no, I don't think that's an overreaction. But I did say, since I thought Cincinnati and Kansas City were the two best teams. And I still think Cincinnati's going to be good, but they just dig themselves in this hole, bro. Like, there's a reason that every year they're on the road in round 2. And I know 1 year they overcame it, and God bless them. But, man, that's a hard path when every year you're playing 3 playoff games to get to the Super Bowl and you're on the road in round 2. That's really hard.
And you have to floor it in the final 6 weeks of the season just to make the playoffs.
Exactly.
Do you burn out? Do you lose the edge? All of that. Despite how often you like to beat the chest over the Chiefs and make crazy proclamations to get aggregated, you are.
You hold on. I can't even show my arm. I'm trying to show my tattoo. I can't do it because I don't know how cameras work. But go ahead.
Is that a new tattoo that you got?
No, that's the one from last year. It's the Never a Doubt. Did you hear? Maybe your producers can play it at the end of the show. Did you hear Jim Nantz at the end of the game today?
Oh, no.
After Butker hit the kick, you know what he said? Wow. Never a doubt.
Of course.
Same thing Patrick Mahomes tweeted after they won the Super Bowl. Never a doubt. But go ahead. Sorry, you were saying I say things to get aggregated.
That's correct. So, but you were often actually very thoughtful, and I wanted to get your thoughtful take on Tua Tagovailoa now that Ian Rappaport said that he is not considering retirement. What was your reaction to that this morning?
Well, I didn't think he'd retire. So I want to say this on the front end. I think he 100% should be allowed to play. I think the idea that the league should step in, I think is ludicrous. That's not how that's not how I feel. I feel like I'm totally fine with the league and teams stepping in the moment. Like, hey man, you don't have your wits about you. You know what I mean? You can't go back into this football game. But once he has all of his wits about him, even if you take Tua out of it, use another player. If somebody said to a football player, hey, you have a liver condition where if you get hit in a certain way, you can die on the spot. And the guy was like, okay, I'll sign the waiver. Even if I would hope they wouldn't do that if that were my brother or whomever, I do think they should have the right. So I think it should be his choice. My opinion on it is that I do not, and it's a tragic circumstance, I don't think Tua's body is made for professional football. And I'm just going to give 2 analogous situations, one real and one theoretical. The real one is this. I had a friend growing up who, from the time he was a little boy, just wanted to be an Air Force fighter pilot. And just like and I'm sure you as well, there are, usually a few people who at a very young age say what they want to do, and people around him are like, oh, they're going to do that. They're already working towards it. He did that. He was going to apply to the Air Force. He was studying planes, did all these things. And this poor guy never stopped growing. And he ended up graduating high school 6'6", and at the time, too tall. Like there was a minimum and maximum to fit in a fighter pilot cockpit. And there was literally, he had done everything right through no fault of his own. He couldn't pursue his specific dream. The other analogous situation I would use is this, because I think some people say football's dangerous for everyone. Yeah, but it's more dangerous for certain people. And if you were a race car driver and all of a sudden got diagnosed with, I looked it up, it's called syncope. I might have mispronounced it, but it's a condition where you spontaneously pass out, maybe a couple, 3 times a year. It's specifically dangerous. That makes that specifically dangerous for you, even though it's dangerous for everyone. That's how I feel about Tua. These are not brutal hits, and these are also not what I would consider minor concussions. They are regular hits that lead to horrifying, instantly diagnosable from your couch concussions. So he should be allowed to do what he wants, but I say this I try not to be callous at all. If he plays, we're going to be I fear we're going to have this discussion again. Like it's not like if he plays, there's going to be another time where we all take on somber tomes about him and his career because he dealt with that again. I don't think he can play professional football and avoid that type of hit because that was not a big hit. And he suffered another concussion. So that's a long answer. I don't even know if it's an answer, by the way, but that's my thoughts on it.
No, and those are totally valid, interesting thoughts, and it makes a lot of sense. I guess of course, most of us want the best for Tua. He's a good guy. He's a nice guy. People don't want to see him in a wheelchair or have all types of health issues down the road. But I also thought it was really weird that so many former players immediately said retire, including Antonio Pierce. I mean, how would they feel if the outside world told them when they had to retire? Didn't you think it was a bit hypocritical, that whole outcry on Thursday and Friday?
Well, I think we have a epidemic of people crafting opinions and thoughts based on what they think. Like Levitard used to call it Captain Easy stance, but I think it's more than that. I think it's what is the general sentiment going to be, and let me make sure I'm stated on the record on the same side of it. And I think it's so that was my reaction. I think there's a lot of people, man. I want to be very judicious with my words here. And there's no comp for what we do in the danger of, you know what I mean? But to make a fake example, if someone had told me a year after I got the TV show, hey man, you got this crazy condition where talking too much, you can die. And you're probably not going to, but you could, and it drastically raises the odds that you die way younger than you should. So you should quit your job. I'm pretty sure I'd have been like, please don't tell my wife, and I'm going to roll the dice. Like, I've worked too hard, and I'm not like, and again, I'm not proud of that statement. I'm a father. Like, that is not how I'm supposed to feel, but I'm pretty sure that's what I would have done. Like, you know what I mean? That if you remember, this is maybe a little more analogous. Chris Bosh got diagnosed with blood clots, and doctors wouldn't clear him to play on the blood thinners he needed. And he fought and fought to be cleared. Like, no, let me play. I'll sign the way. Like, I just don't think I think most people, if they work as hard as you have to work to get to the pinnacle, get there, they're not going to give it up as a preventative measure. especially early in their careers. I think that's totally normal. I also think it's, reasonable for other people who don't have as much skin in the game to be like, well, the smart thing to do is this, but that's usually not how people operate. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I would have been shocked if Tua was like, I'm retiring.
I think I would have too, but it bothered me that all of these former athletes, that you have to rip their careers from their cold, dead hands. They're going to try out for the UFL or the Arena League before they actually retire, are going to tell a guy that's 26 years old, no, you got to step away. He loves the game. He's in the prime of his career. He just signed a $200 million contract and has a coach that tells him every day, we love you. You're the guy.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Of course.
So here's an interesting piece of it that's like one we can't know. How many of those people would have been telling him to walk away if he hadn't signed the deal? How much of it was, hey man, you got that $100 million no matter what? If the Dolphins had been like, we're not signing you, would there has been as loud of because I felt like even my tweet included his money. I feel like part of it was buddy, you can kind of have it all. Not at all, but you're like, you're going to get your money no matter what. And so if he hadn't signed his deal, I think there would have been a lot fewer people that were like, you've got to quit. But because he just signed it and it was, 93 million guaranteed and maybe 167 guaranteed, depending on how you look at it. I think do you think that was a piece of it? Because I do. That colored it.
It might have, but I think you alluded to something. When you don't have skin in the game, it's a lot easier to tell somebody what to do. And for Damian Woody and Antonio Pierce and all of these guys that were sitting in a broadcast room or standing at a podium that already had their lives after football figured out, they can tell a guy, hey, man, just step away. But if they were 26 years old, there's no way they would have wanted somebody to tell them, you've got to walk away from your dream. All those guys played into their mid-30s, and my guess is had to be told, you're not wanted around here anymore. And they would have called every team out of the 32 and played third string for the worst team in the 100%. NFL to keep the dream going. And here they were taking national stances and saying, no, you got to walk away. It's sad if you keep going. I mean, that to me, I don't know. I found it distasteful.
I also thought, not that that's the point, I thought Pierce could get fined by the league for that. I don't know how the NFL's tampering rules work and stuff, but I know typically speaking about future plans of a player on another team is frowned upon. You know what I mean? Maybe in this instance it's different because it seemed like, his heart was in the right place, so to speak. But that was another weird one. It's like, you're the head coach of the Raiders. Again, I want to be clear. I do not think this is why he said this, but it is in the Raiders' interest if the Dolphins quarterback retires. And so it was just a weird thing all around.
It was weird. And I do want to also give the context that I believe everybody was speaking with the best interests of Tua. So it is not like they were being selfish in doing so.
I don't think so either.
With bad intention. I just thought that it was kind of tone deaf because they would have hated for somebody else to say in the prime of their careers, you need to step away. I know what's best for you. If, they weren't friends, they weren't confidants, they weren't family. Hey, I wanted to ask you one question before we let you go. When you and I worked together in Kansas City, you had the tightest fade I could have ever imagined. Yeah. And you had that tight fade forever, even throughout your television career. And now look at these beautiful flowing locks.
So
what's the decision here? Is this the fashion bird, your wife?
No, so it's all of the above. So I'll tell you the exact timeline of it. My old TV partner, Chris Carter, God love him. Shout out to CC. He's now doing stuff with Stephen A on Mondays. Happy to see that. His wife, when he and I first started working together. Do you remember they were very popular 5-6 years ago, these different apps, and it was like, hey, this is how you look when you're 100 years old, and this is how those things. And it's all, I'm sure, just so they can, biometrically steal our information and we're all screwed. But I have a fish, too many fish in the sea theory. Whenever I hear one of those, Target lost everyone's info. I'm like, okay, well, at least it's everyone.
Right.
Like, if you're like, all right, well, if you have everyone's social, then you kind of have no one's. If you tell me like they took like 18 people and you're one of them, I'm like, oh, it's ruined. But when it's everyone, I'm like, yeah, who cares? So his wife did a face app thing of me with long hair, and they were like, you look like a European soccer player. You
You're
look
kidding.
unbelievable. You got to do it. And he was adamant I should do it. And around the time he and I were going to stop working together, I was like, all right, I'll try it. I'll start growing it out. So I started growing it out in late 2019. But again, I had a skin fade that I got. I got my hair cut twice a week for 20 years since I was 14 years old. And then I started growing it out. And the first few months of that, the hair looks terrible. And then the pandemic hit, and I just didn't get a haircut for a year. And so once that happened, I was just like, screw it. Let's just see how long I can take it. And then a weird thing happened. I started getting like almost nothing said about me on the internet bothers me. I ignore most of it. And most of it I'm kind of immune to. But a lot of people started accusing me of like wearing a wig or getting hair implants or it being fake. And so I got super pissed. Like, I don't know why. Like, there's two things said about me on the internet that are lies that actually bother me. One is people think I'm super short. And like every time I meet someone, one of the first things they say is like, whoa, you're tall. And I'm like, I'm sitting all day. Why do people just assume I give like a short man's takes, I guess? And the other one is they think my fucking hair's fake. And it bothers me. And I'm like, look at the old videos. You can see where my hairline is. You can see that I have hair. And so now it's just like a big F you. And here's the thing. My wife, who wanted me to do it, doesn't like it anymore. She wants me to go back to the shaved head.
Plot twist.
She wants me to go back to the shave. She's sick of it now. She wants me to go back to the shaved head. I'm also a little edgier with the shaved head, a little tougher. So I keep trying to get Wilds and Brew, one of them, to make a shave your head bet on the air, but they won't do it. It's a bet I want to lose because I just want the ability to shave my head again. But yeah, everybody thinks these luscious, gorgeous locks are fake, which I guess is what they're saying. Either my old haircut was so unattractive, I would have only done it out of necessity, or this hair is so gorgeous, if I could have always had it, I would have kept it forever. But that's the story, Damon.
We've seen all the intermediary stages of you growing out your hair.
That's what I said. That's what I didn't understand. I was on TV every day. You saw it growing. The idea that I just showed up one day all of a sudden like it was like it was implants doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's not like Jimmy Butler's emo phase at Media Day. It was like, this would be like the longest con of all time if you had a day-by-day wig.
That is correct.
By the way,
right.
by appearing on tonight's episode of Watch DA Live, you are going to receive a bottle of Santo Blanco tequila. This is Guy Fieri and Sammy Hagar's tequila. It's delicious. I don't know if you still imbibe. You and I have not shared cocktails in a long time, but it is delicious. And for coming on, we thank you, Santo's.
No, so thank you to Santo Tequila. I appreciate that. I still drink. And I'll be totally honest. Your wonderful producer asked me to do this on Thursday, I think. You and I had talked, but we didn't set a specific day. Thursday, we agreed to do it. I'm like, awesome, perfect, no problem. Sitting here watching football all day. And then I saw the tweet that I was coming on this show. And I was like, well, let me stop drinking these Sapporo. I was like, oh, damn. I've got a media appearance in a half hour. So let me. So yeah. So I'm
You know,
glad you didn't send that to me ahead of time because a couple Sapporos I can keep it moving. If I'd just been sipping tequila all night, it'd been a different story.
next time you come on, you don't actually have to stop drinking before you come on with us.
Okay, well, next time for sure. Yeah, and if had the Chiefs lost tonight, I would have considered this bad luck and never come on. But I just figure the next time they play a big 425 game, I should be your guest because you're clearly good luck. So this is great.
We would love to have you back, man. All the
Thank
best.
you, brother.
Please tell your wife that I said hello. It is
Oh,
wonderful to see you, and let's hang out soon, okay?
you too. Absolutely. Miss you, DA. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
See you.
Back at you, man. Nick Wright joining us from FS1's First Things First. Check him out daily on FS1. Great spot with Nick, and